Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Season 2 of the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E method, an infertility warrior, two-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. On today's show, I have Sam Abbott. She's a registered dietitian nutritionist who helps those with PCOS ditch diets, improve insulin resistance, and balance hormones without feeling guilty or stressed about food. She runs the Instagram account PCOS.Nutritionist, where she gives free tips and support around PCOS nutrition education. She is the creator of the PCOS Food Freedom Program, a complete program for improving hormone balance without a side of diet culture or weight stigma. Sam is passionate about empowering people with PCOS with the knowledge they need to improve their hormonal imbalances and live their happiest, healthiest lives without dieting. This show is all about optimizing your fertility with PCOS and how to thrive, not just survive. It's also about how to ditch diets, improve insulin resistance, and balance our hormones without feeling guilty or deprived. So in honor of PCOS Awareness Month, let's dive in and welcome Sam to the show. Today's episode is presented by TwoPlus Fertility, a comfortable and easy to use at-home device that increases the chances of a sperm meeting an egg when you're trying to conceive. When you try naturally, less than 1% of sperm reach the egg. TwoPlus Fertility's goal is to fix that. For more information, visit 2plusfertility.com and use code Kayla30 at checkout for 30% off your order. Hey, Sam, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. So let's dive into it. Tell us a little bit more about you and kind of how you started working in women's health and with PCOS.
Yeah, well, my name is Sam Abbott. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist, and I started working in the field and specializing in PCOS after I had a brick and mortar private practice in Charlotte, North Carolina. I just started seeing client after client after client who had PCOS, and they were basically being given no practical tools from their providers to help manage symptoms and really address the root causes of PCOS. They were just being told to lose weight, eat less, exercise more, here's some metformin or birth control, and come back when you want to get pregnant. So I just started learning as much as I could about PCOS, and actually PCOS also runs in my family. But truthfully, I did not know a lot about it until I started seeing clients for nutrition coaching related to PCOS. And it's just an area that I feel like is under-researched, and there's not a lot of awareness, and that has just really caused me to become really passionate about it. I'm involved in PCOS advocacy, and yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
I love that. And I feel like so many of us, that's how we get started. Like, we're seeing clients with the same issues or us ourselves are struggling. And so, yeah, that's a pretty common theme that I see. So that's amazing that you decided to kind of focus in here because it is so needed. I feel like we still don't know so much about PCOS, and sometimes we're just slapped with that diagnosis and then we're like, now what? So
Yeah.
for those who don't know, can you just go in briefly? What is PCOS?
So PCOS stands for polycystic ovary syndrome. It is a metabolic disorder. It's an endocrine disorder. It's a reproductive disorder. It really affects the entire body. PCOS affects about 10 to 15% of people who are born with a uterus. It's characterized primarily by a lack of an irregular cycle or symptoms of elevated androgens like acne, hirsutism, excessive hair growth, and then also weight gain can be a symptom of that as well. It's the leading cause of anovulatory infertility, but it's also a lot more than that because people who have PCOS are at an increased risk of things like type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea, endometrial cancer, fatty liver disease. It's also associated with anxiety and depression. So it's a really complex condition. It is a syndrome, so it can look different. It can look different in each person. Do you want me to talk about the diagnosis of it?
Yeah, that would be my next question. So how would we know? Say we're having a couple of these symptoms and we're like, I don't know if I have PCOS. Like, what does that look like to kind of get diagnosed? And when should we see our doctor? When, symptoms are popping up or, even after that?
Right. Yeah. So what's commonly used to diagnose PCOS is something called the Rotterdam criteria. PCOS is really a diagnosis of exclusion because a lot of the symptoms can overlap with other medical conditions. But with the Rotterdam criteria, there are three pieces of diagnostic criteria, and you only need to meet two of them to receive a diagnosis. So the first would be irregular or missing periods. The second would be polycystic ovaries on an ultrasound. And then the third would be either signs and symptoms of elevated androgens or elevated androgens confirmed with labs. Sometimes androgen testing with labs can be a little unreliable, which is why signs and symptoms can be part of that diagnostic criteria as well. I think it's important to go to the doctor and get things checked out anytime you feel like something's not quite right with your body. One thing with having a missing cycle, especially if you do actually have PCOS, is that you don't really want to go too long without having some sort of bleed, because that can put your body at risk for endometrial hyperplasia and endometrial cancer, which is actually why birth control is prescribed for PCOS to prevent that. A lot of people aren't educated on, they get so frustrated that birth control is prescribed, but they don't really understand why. It also manages elevated androgens too, but a big piece of that is, the cancer prevention. But I definitely think PCOS is not, I see a lot of people trying to diagnose themselves. And even with my services, I get contacted by people all the time who don't formally have a diagnosis and they want to join my program. And I really encourage everyone to get fully evaluated because like we were talking about earlier, PCOS is a diagnosis of exclusion. So if you do have an irregular or missing cycle, that can be because of thyroid issues. That can be from a condition called hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is when your body, it's usually a result of under eating or over exercising. Your body's lacking energy. Stress can play a role in that too. And also, I have had quite a few clients who have been misdiagnosed with PCOS and actually had Cushing's disease. So it's a complex condition, and I do think if you have symptoms, definitely speaking with your doctor about it is a good first step.
For sure. For sure. And I find a lot of times too, people, they'll go to their doctor, maybe they're diagnosed, maybe they're not. But one of the things the doctor will tell them if they need to is lose weight and then come back and see me if and when you want to get pregnant. So what do you say to that? Why is that not really a great strategy?
Yeah, I think, and you and I were talking before we started recording about how I'm a weight inclusive dietitian, meaning that I really try to make sure when I'm working with clients and even on my Instagram account that all body sizes feel welcome. But I think it's really important to remember that weight is an outcome. Weight gain can be a symptom, but weight is not a behavior. So we really need to do some exploring, when you're concerned that you have a symptom of weight gain and you feel like your body is above its natural set point weight. We need to do some exploring about, okay, well, what is actually going on with your labs, your hormone, your nutrition, your lifestyle factors, all of that. And just remember that when you're addressing those things, your weight will really fall where it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And I really hope that there is more research around the topic of weight and PCOS. Just because I've worked with so many clients who saw a drastic improvement in their symptoms and really their weight did not change that much. So I actually think it's problematic that we're prescribing weight loss as the solution for PCOS. Because I think that, like I said, weight is really just an outcome.
For sure. And I find too, and I'm sure you find the same, a lot of times when somebody goes to their doctor and are told they need to lose weight, if they do, they're never told how. They're never, it's always like, well, eat less, work out more, but that's not really going to help lose weight in the long run. Maybe quick fix, but that's not a lifestyle habit that we're going to adopt, So, yeah.
And I think weight bias in medical care as well. I see a lot of my clients struggling with that, and it can even lead to avoiding going to the doctor because they're just tired of hearing that. And I think the reality is, unless your doctor is taking a food recall and really talking to you about your lifestyle factors, they can't just tell you to eat less and exercise more if they don't have a baseline. And I'm sure that, that you've probably talked about this on a podcast episode before, but under eating and over exercising can definitely cause hormone issues as well. And I actually see that with a lot of my clients. They're not eating enough because they think that's what they're supposed to be doing. And it's actually, probably making their PCOS worse.
For sure. And something else you said too, one of the signs of PCOS is in ovulatory cycles. And a lot of people will say to me, well, I'm not trying to get pregnant. And so I don't really care. I'm kind of happy that I don't get my period, every 30 days or whatever. But what they don't realize, and I'm sure you encourage this too, or educate on this too, is that the more ovulatory cycles that you can have before you hit menopause, the better your health is going to be in general. It kind of protects you from a lot of different diseases, osteoporosis, heart disease, Alzheimer's even. So kind of speak on that. Do you find that to be true?
Well, I think that when we're talking about having a regular cycle, you can kind of think of your cycle as a little bit like a vital sign. So if you're not having a cycle, that could mean, that something deeper is going on that really needs to be addressed. And I think something really important for everyone listening who has PCOS is that PCOS is a metabolic condition. It affects the entire body. It is inflammatory. It can affect how you feel from day to day, your energy levels, how you're sleeping. It's really not just about having a cycle. That can just be a piece of it. But what I see, unfortunately, and I'm hoping that this will improve over time as there's more awareness, is that someone will start working with me when they have type 2 diabetes, elevated liver enzymes, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, and they were diagnosed with PCOS 15 or 20 years ago and didn't realize that it was affecting their entire body. They really just thought it was all about whether or not they could get pregnant.
For sure. So super important. So talk to me about gluten and dairy. You say that we don't have to come off of these things with PCOS. Can you speak a little on that?
Yeah, I just see a lot online now, with influencers and health and wellness professionals kind of making a blanket statement that, if you have PCOS, it's probably beneficial to eliminate both of those. And not only does research not support that, but in my client experiences, I don't see that either. I think that when we talk about gluten and dairy, this is highly individualized. So there have been studies about dairy and PCOS, and the results are mixed. We do know with dairy that it is more beneficial for insulin levels and androgen levels if you're consuming full fat dairy instead of fat free or low fat. But beyond that, it's really individualized. Same thing with gluten. There's not really research to support that eliminating gluten improves symptoms. And I work with a lot of clients where they don't really see this improving symptoms. And I think what happens a lot of times is when people go all in with making changes, they eliminate a lot of things and they change a lot of lifestyle things at once, and they start taking a lot of supplements at once, and then they don't know what helped what. And that's not really how I work with clients. We do things step by step. And so, when they get to the point where they may be considering a trial elimination, they've already seen their symptoms improve so much that they feel like it's not necessary. Now, there are some situations, if you have an intolerance or you notice that when you specifically eliminate one of those, your symptoms improve, then definitely listen to your body and trust your body. There's also some information that if you have an autoimmune condition like Hashimoto's or rheumatoid arthritis, that eliminating gluten may be beneficial. Maybe doing a trial elimination where that's the only thing you eliminate can be beneficial. But yeah, I just don't see that really in the PCOS space where that should be the step one recommendation across the board for everyone. And also, so many people with PCOS have underlying disordered eating, a poor relationship with food, a poor relationship with their body, and a lot of anxiety around food. And, I have clients who have food intolerances and still consume those foods just because the anxiety around trying to eliminate them is not worth it. So I think that's something else to consider as well.
For sure. And it sounds like what you're saying too is just, it's very individualized. So you want to make sure that what you're eating is working for your body. And if you're feeling symptoms pop up when you eat certain foods, then maybe it's time to eliminate those, but one at a time. Don't do it all at once. Yeah.
And I think also exploring, your tolerance to different amounts, and does a food need to be completely eliminated, or how do you feel if you just decrease it, and really giving yourself the autonomy to make that decision for yourself and your body and do a little bit of exploring.
I love it. And I agree. So let's talk myths. Are there any myths that you hear around PCOS? And let's kind of debunk a couple of those.
Oh my gosh, I really don't even know where to start with this. Well, we kind of touched on one big myth, that PCOS is primarily just about fertility. We just know now that PCOS affects so much related to your overall health and mental well-being. Another thing, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but people being told that they cause their PCOS, that something within their diet or their lifestyle caused PCOS. And the reality is we don't know exactly what causes PCOS. We do see a bit of a genetic component. If somebody has PCOS, it's very likely that they have a relative, a mom or an aunt that also had PCOS, even though they may not have been diagnosed at that time. They may have had fertility struggles. Another big misconception or myth that I see with PCOS is that weight gain causes insulin resistance. We actually have research that insulin resistance occurs independent of weight in adolescence with PCOS. So I look at the insulin resistance as more of a piece of PCOS that develops likely beyond someone's control. And I think educating on that is important because there's a lot of blame and like shame and guilt around that. And then another big myth is that you can't get pregnant with PCOS without medical intervention.
Right.
I would just be super interested to see what research around fertility and PCOS is going to look like in 10, 15, 20 years from now, because there's so much more awareness. There's a push for earlier diagnosis, earlier treatment. And I think that's going to make a huge difference, because for a lot of people, they don't even know they have PCOS until they come off of birth control and start trying to get pregnant.
Yes. And I can attest to you can get pregnant with PCOS. I have many clients.
100%. Yes.
Yes. So definitely, if you've got that diagnosis, you can't, because you definitely can. I love it. So we're going to take a short break and hear a word from our sponsors. We're going to come back and talk practical tips on how to not just survive, but really thrive when you have PCOS. So we'll be right back.
Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. Happy to share the sponsor of today's episode, TwoPlus Fertility, which was designed to help solve the issue of less than 1% of sperm reaching the egg when you're trying to conceive at home. Comfortable and easy to use, each device, which is as seamless as using a tampon, can be used up to 4 times a month. It's soft and comfortable, drug-free, and made of 100% medical-grade silicone. TwoPlus believes that every drop counts and encourages users to insert TwoPlus Sperm Guide before sex in an effort to stop sperm from flowing back out of the vagina post-sex. TwoPlus wants to bring as much sperm to the right place in the vaginal tract and create an experience that can be tried from the comfort of your own home or hotel room. Learn more about this product, which can be discreetly shipped to your doorstep, by visiting 2plusfertility.com. Available in the US, the UK, and Singapore. And don't forget, use code Kayla30 at checkout for 30% off your order. Hey, Sam, welcome back.
Hi.
So let's dive into some practical tips. What would you say would be, some of your favorite foods, or even what should our nutrition look like when we are, when we have PCOS, whether or not we're trying to get pregnant?
Yeah, this is a great question. So I always like to encourage everyone to think of the foundation of nutrition is making sure that you're eating enough. And I feel like that's just really important to say, because so many people that I work with are skipping a lot of meals, or they're really just not eating enough overall. So that would be step number 1. I think the more plants that you can add in, the better, for those antioxidants and fiber. And another big piece that I recommend being mindful of would be fat intake, especially, those omega-3 fatty acids that come in fatty fish like salmon, or nuts and seeds and olive oil. That can be great for decreasing inflammation. Fat slows down the digestion of carbohydrates if you have insulin resistance. So that's another great thing to think about as well.
And is there any foods we should stay away from?
So I don't really recommend approaching nutrition by thinking about foods that you should stay away from, just because I feel like in the PCOS space, that's all everyone is told. Stay away from this, that, cut out carbs, gluten, dairy, soy comes up. And I think that a lot of the clients that I work with feel so overwhelmed with all of this advice to stay away from certain foods that I find people are just so much more successful when they think about adding foods instead.
I love that. What you get to have, not what you don't get to have. So it's definitely a better mindset.
Yeah. And another thing too that we really need to remember is that Food, definitely nutrition from food is important for health, but so is your emotional health, so is your psychological health. And I think food satisfaction plays a really big role in that. And I do work with so many clients who really struggle to stick with a diet, or they struggle with binge eating. And so much of that comes back to food restriction. And so usually when we resolve that food restriction piece of things, overall diet quality improves as well.
For sure. And you talk about 3 things that can help us to improve our PCOS that don't have to do with food. So what are those 3 things?
So stress management, sleep quality, and then how you move your body. I also would throw in mental health as well, just because anxiety and depression are associated with PCOS. But yeah, when we look at hormonal health, I mean, stress is huge. Sleep quality is huge. People with PCOS are at a higher risk for having a sleep disorder. We see sleep apnea a lot more in people who have PCOS. And so these are all pieces of the puzzle as well.
For sure. And do you have a couple of tips around each one of those? So how do you recommend we start to manage our stress and get good quality sleep and move on a regular basis?
Well, I think it's important that when we talk about all of these areas of wellness, you may not be addressing or working on each area all at once. It may ebb and flow. I know right now when we're recording this, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so maybe stress management is at the forefront here. But I'll start with stress. I think that identifying your stressor and also recognizing that in our society, we have really normalized stress. But that doesn't mean it's not harmful for the body. So identifying where your stress is coming from is a big one. And then from there, you can figure out how to address it. So there are certain types of stressors that are within our control. And then there are certain types of stressors that are outside of our control, like the pandemic or maybe an illness in your family or something like that. If you have a stressor that's outside of your control, I always like to look and say, okay, well, what can we do to make life easier, to take something off of our plates? What can we do to help us feel relaxed if we can't get out of our certain circumstances? I think it's really important to remember too that stress management is individualized. So what works for one person may not work for someone else. So someone may find meditation or journaling to be really therapeutic, and for someone else that may feel even more stressful.
Right.
So it's identifying what really decreases your stress levels and making an intentional plan to put that in place. With sleep, I would say the biggest one that I see outside of getting screened for sleep apnea, which if you're getting a lot of sleep and you're still feeling exhausted, I definitely recommend getting screened for sleep apnea. But I see people drinking alcohol a lot before bed. I mean, it's easy to have a glass of wine or a beer before you go to bed, and alcohol can definitely interfere with sleep cycles. So that is a tip for that. And then with movement, first of all, if you're not sleeping very well and you're feeling exhausted, I don't recommend prioritizing movement. I recommend really trying to get to the bottom of why you're feeling so exhausted. It may be that moving your body may help you feel better, but for a lot of people with PCOS, they may have a nutrient deficiency, they may not be eating enough, they may have undiagnosed sleep apnea. So I think addressing those first. But the best type of movement for your body is one that you're going to be consistent with. So really digging in deep and finding some motivating factors for moving your body, and being honest with yourself. If you don't enjoy physical activity, kind of digging deeper to figure out why that is and establish some sort of routine that is going to be realistic and enjoyable for you.
I love that. And I agree for sure. It's about moving your body. It's not like you have to do vigorous exercise or like really, hardcore intense exercise to get the benefit of movement. So I love that.
Yeah. And I think right now in the PCOS space, there's a lot of discussion about, okay, what's the best type of movement, or what's going to what's going to help my insulin resistance the most, or certain types of movements too inflammatory? And while I think these are great, valid questions, usually when someone's asking me them, they're not moving their body at all and they're feeling so overwhelmed with everything that that's kind of like their biggest barrier. So I find that when people really tune into how they're feeling and what feels good to them, they can kind of answer that question for themselves.
I agree. I love that. So let's talk about your food freedom program. What is this and how is it different?
Yeah, so I run a program called PCOS Food Freedom, and it basically walks you through how to improve PCOS hormone imbalances without dieting. So we do focus on nutrition education and lifestyle and supplements and labs, but there is a big component to the program that focuses on overall well-being, emotional well-being, mental well-being, and having a healthy relationship with food and your body. I find that a lot of people with PCOS have just been told to lose weight so much that a lot of what they're trying to use as motivating factors for making nutrition and lifestyle changes really comes from wanting to change their body, and kind of really struggling with a lot of body image issues. And we know that deep down, that's not really a motivating factor for wanting to care for yourself. So reestablishing some basic principles for body respect, rebuilding self-esteem, repairing body image, can really help someone kind of turn a new page on their wellness journey. And that's really what my program is all about.
I love that. And where would we find out more about it? Where can we find you and learn more about working with you?
You can always find me on Instagram. My handle is PCOS.Nutritionist. And then my website is PCOSFoodFreedom.com.
I love that. And we'll have all that linked under the show. So it'll be really easy to find in the show notes. And before we go, do you have any final thoughts, any words of encouragement that you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I would just like to make sure that all of the listeners know that having PCOS does not have to define you. It can be part of your life, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming to you, and that you can live a beautiful, happy life and thrive with PCOS.
I love that. And I agree. Amazing. Well, thank you, Sam, for being here. It was so fun getting to know you and having you on. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you, ladies, for listening to the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Podcast. Until next time, bye.
Don't forget to check out today's sponsor, TwoPlus Fertility, a comfortable and easy to use at-home device that increases the chances of a sperm meeting an egg when you're trying to conceive. Visit 2plusfertility.com to order yours, and don't forget to use code Kayla30 at checkout for 30% off your order. Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. So make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L E Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.